Welcome back, guys. We're going to go over the focal point of that last game. We saw a 1-1-1. It's a very common build. It's a very strong build, and I want to kind of highlight what this Terran player did right and what our Protoss player could have done a little bit better. So here we are in game. As you can see, the Terran is pushing forward. Now notice he's sieging up one siege tank at a time. Well, in this case, two at a time there, but he's basically leapfrogging the siege tanks forward and forward and forward. Protoss, if he wanted to delay this further, should have gone into the middle of the map and forced the tanks to start sieging up a little bit later on. The Terran player, in fact, did not even need to bring all of his SCVs. Most of the time we see them bring sometimes up to 80% of the SCVs. Now he's too close. Now is where it's scary because he could set up the point defense drone. The siege tanks are barely in range of the Nexus, and that's exactly what cost the Protoss the game.
And look at those observers flying. They just got sniped right there. You can't keep them on the same hotkey. You just can't do it. You have to have them on different hotkeys. They have to be floating a little bit behind your army so that that doesn't happen. Not that that would have necessarily changed that game completely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a situation where, and by the way, if you want to copy a build and play StarCraft on the ladder, that's a good build. Don't become completely dependent on that build.
Yeah.
But it's solid. And I think we are actually going to take another quick little break.
No.
Or no, the players are actually ready.
Yeah, they're ready. They're all set.
Wanted to make sure.
We're going to just jump right into it.
Yeah.
It's going to be on Metalopolis. Wow, we haven't gotten to cast Metalopolis in a while,
man. Old, man.
This is the
this
only
like from the
professional map that was released with the game.
It's a good map.
Yeah. It's been changed just slightly. Some different spawn positions taken out. No close spawns.
Small alterations.
No gold minerals anymore.
All right. Over here in the top center starting location, using the 1-1-1 build and having a lot of success, we have Heart. Not very far away by air. Over here in the upper right, we have our player, a member of the team TSL, the SCV Life, Inori.
Well, Inori, I feel like he played a little bit wrong last game. We went over it a little bit already, but if you're going to go Colossus to stop 1-1-1, you generally have to do that off one base unless it's a really late 1-1-1. And he didn't even take the quickest expansion, so everything he had was just a little bit too slow to deal with it. Now, again, as I said before, Hart is a pretty aggressive player overall. He doesn't really go into the very late game often. Not that he's always one basing, but he likes to end it early. So Inori needs to keep that in mind and either counter that by attacking or counter that by really good scouting and really good defense.
I feel like Inori's play in that last game was just too middle of the road. Nothing bold coming out of him.
Yeah.
Very generic.
Yeah.
Whereas, our Terran player, that's a very polarized build.
Oh,
that's
certainly.
a make it or break it build.
Yeah, everyone knows about the 1-1-1. It's perhaps
the most hated
notorious.
Build.
Yeah.
The
notorious because Terran players like it.
That's true.
They're evil people, but they do like it. So, he has to be careful of maybe even hitting that again. In fact, in these spots, 1-1-1, not a terrible choice. But actually in these spots, I love things like Hellion drops. I think that that's one of the absolute best things to do in close spots Metalopolis. Put a lot of pressure on early. If Protoss makes one misstep, if anything's late, then it can end the game.
Yeah, that's you're absolutely correct. Also, I want to point out a little bit of a character here from Hart. He once again did not put the barracks over here. So clearly this is the way he plays. This doesn't mean he's going to do a 1-1-1 again, but it's interesting to notice the subtleties. And whoa, second barracks coming down here, and there's a very high chance that the probe is going to be able to sneak over there, avoiding the Marine, and he will see the tech route right now of Hart.
Now, Hart could turn this into something tricky. Of course, just a 2 barracks pressure. It's a good build. You have to be careful, though. Protosses have come up with some pretty decent counter builds, but he could do something crazy like cancel the barracks. I don't think he's going to here. The barracks is already over halfway done. Canceling it at this point would actually just give you a slow, bad build. But Inori has to be feeling good. He knows a lot about what's going on here. And in fact is making a bunker. So he's, once again, he likes that bunker there.
Do you feel like this is more for safety or more for deception? Seeing the bunker makes me think tech, and I think most other StarCraft players as well.
Yeah.
It says that I'm afraid that if you attack me, I'm going to die.
Yeah, it could be. It could be either, but I think it's just for safety. I think he's just like, all right, this is part of the game I don't really like. You know, this is part that I die in sometimes. I'm going to build that bunker because I can always salvage it for 75 mils later on. And in fact, we see there with those 2 quick units, if he had just those 3 Marines, those 2 units, they do a lot of damage. You know, they're going to kill off probably all 3 Marines, maybe an SCV as well.
Yeah, he's playing pretty smart so far.
Oh man, Inori's actually doing the same build as last time, just getting 3 gates. Will he attack this time with it?
Well, we're going to have to see. Yes, he does get in there, and he
saw all 3, yeah.
Meanwhile, back over here in the Terran space, we just see him continuing to make a lot of Marines and Marauders.
Anyways, so Concussive Shell just finishing up, and Stim starting next. Not the combat shields, which we sometimes see, but a 2 barracks build against a 3 gateway build. The 3 gateway build should be able to deal with. You know, if you're in a defensive posture, you're going to have more than enough units to stop it.
This is a situation where both players are basically going for tier 1 units. Every unit is, of course, important. Losing that Stalker does hurt, but it's going to come down to a lot of just micro. Now, excuse me, he's actually going to get a Nexus. This, I don't think is a doable thing right now.
Well, you know, without the Stim done quite yet, how many sentries does he have? He has 5 already. 5. You know, if he has good force fields, I think he should be able to hold this. But, you know, of course he has to have those good force fields. If he doesn't trap some units so his Zealots can actually do damage, then it could be trouble.
Stim is about halfway done. Looks like Hart just wanted to apply some pressure. Meanwhile, the command center is up and on the way. And it looks like we're going to have the factory come down as well.
Well, you know, just standard. You want to go into the factory and jump up to medevacs when you've opened with the 2 barracks opener, because you already have so many units early on, you don't need the 3 barracks. So it's just very standard, both people actually expanding. And we're going to see this go into a normal game. But the one thing we're going to have to watch out for with Inori is this is very close by air, these 2 positions. And being so close by air, the quick medevacs that we're going to see are going to cause some problems. So he's going to have to be very careful with his defense. He either has to get offensive almost immediately, or he has to defend perfectly.
Very well said, Artosis. We may even see a sensor tower thrown down here just to check for drops, because let's face it, you know, you can get hurt pretty badly at both ends actually when it comes to drops in these positions. The robotics facility is done, and again, as you said, this is going to be a very textbook Terran versus Protoss.
Yeah. You know, people really love to get Twilight Tech with the observers, because you have to be careful. What if Hart did something crazy like 2 barracks into Cloaked Banshee? Then you auto lose if you don't have that.
Well, I mean, StarCraft's also just this game of intel, so having, you know, more information on what your opponent's doing is going to give you a better idea of how to respond. So I'm always for getting the observer in this base game.
Definitely. Well, both players have their expansions, and we are going to see medevacs coming out very soon here. Blink on the way. I think that's a great choice for these positions.
Yep, combat shields also halfway done.
Yeah, so, you know, again, this is like exactly the way that you would expect to see this if nothing weird or silly happened early on.
Looks like we got the factory being used to scout here. Now this is really smart because you tend to want to use more infantry units generally in this matchup. You're not going to be making stuff out of the factory. You're not necessarily going to make Hellions or Thors or siege tanks. So why not lift it up, float it over to this region, and take a peek at what the Protoss is doing?
Yeah, man. It's a great scout, something that came over from StarCraft 1, sending buildings in that you weren't using. Well, it looks like he killed off an observer there, which is actually really good for him. He's going to bring that drop up, but there's a lot of stalkers in there. Oh, this is actually going to be very hard for him. No, he should not be engaging that with those stalkers. And some decent force fields, but it looks like we may have some buildings sniped here, and this is actually even pretty hard to look at everything, but no, oh, he's engaging completely wrong. You cannot be engaging Marines, Marauders, and Medevacs with just stalkers, and a lot of them will end up going down, but good force fields on the low ground here. Nice micro on the high ground by coLHeart, and it looks like he has defended this drop successfully despite losing a lot of stalkers there.
That was actually pretty hard to follow.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy back and forth, man. I feel like, you know, Hart overcommitted on the ground a little bit and did it just right in the main base.
Yeah. He should have pulled back a little bit quicker, but it was a pretty even exchange there. Now, it looks like he may be going once again for drops here.
Yeah.
Just using this factory to know exactly what's going on at any point in time.
That's right.
We may see another expansion coming up here. The Protoss can certainly afford it. Looks like this probe is being directed over here.
Good scouting.
In fact, it's a scouting probe to see if there's any expansions.
Yeah, very well done. And we do have this drop coming in now. He knows because he just flew his factory out that nothing's there. He's going to start shooting immediately. We're going to have Inori come in here immediately. And he's got to be careful with those. He does have Blink to get away, but he does not want to lose any stalkers right now.
And it looks like now he's going to be able to just pick up and leave. Actually, leaving behind a medevac, I think this could have been salvaged. Are you serious?
Anyways?
Okay,
And
never mind. It gets away anyways.
Well, right now, still pretty even here. The first Colossus is about to pop out, but Vikings are in production already. Supplies quite close, 107 to 96. And these two, I have to say, this game are very evenly matched.
Yeah, it's been very few exchanges. Looks like, by the way, the probe will confirm the non-existence of the command center here.
He hasn't built another command, right?
Let me check.
No?
No.
Yeah, see, this is very much like Heart. You know, if you take that third command center right now, the game isn't going to end for a while unless you accidentally die. Well, yeah, there, he throws it up. So a little bit quicker than I'm used to seeing Heart do it. But
yeah, the Protoss is basically not going to be able to attack the Terran for most of this game because this little region over here, it's so easy to abuse Vikings to snipe the Colossi.
That's true.
So you got to be careful. Or you could just not go Colossi. But then again, you don't really have, you know, good surround area for a massive amount of units. So the Terran really gets to be the aggressor in this situation.
Yes, indeed. Well, we have charge on the way. Colossus range as well. And Inori has to start thinking about taking another base. The way he's playing right now doesn't lend itself to an attack right this second. And in fact, yeah, he's sending his probe down. So their third bases look like they're going to be at very similar timings. Yep. And these two are really mirroring each other this game. It's really, really close.
Around when the command center lands over here, well, the orbital, I should say, the Nexus should finish. So, yeah, I mean, they're neck and neck right now. There's no way to tell who's going to be in the lead.
Yep. Well, Ghost Academy is on the way. A good number of Vikings right now. In fact, let's check that out. He has 8 Vikings. Very well done with that. How many Colossi? We have
if I could just
2.
interrupt for 1 second.
Yeah.
He's doing a good job of scanning the obvious location where the observer is. That means less Colossi, which means his Vikings are stronger.
Yeah.
Little things like that could win you the game.
And even if, you know, even if they don't remake the observer and thus don't have less Colossi, they have less intel. And you have to have a lot of intel against Terran to play defensively.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And it looks like now Terran is going to go ahead and push out. And we're going to have to see the Protoss' army is positioned well enough to actually deal with this.
Yeah, he's got to be careful. Where are the Stalkers? The Stalkers in the main base. They're going to have to blink down and stop these Vikings from killing off all his Colossi. Looks like one will be sniped immediately. The second one going to go down, and now he's in a lot of trouble. Where are his additional Colossi? He has one more in the main base doing nothing. In fact, those Vikings may go ahead and land, and they do, just to add a little bit more firepower because he hasn't seen another Colossi yet.
He's moving in here now. I think there's too much of everything that's Terran, and frankly, not enough Zealots here to really absorb the hits. The Stalkers blink in. Is this a good idea? I can't quite tell.
No, it looks like Heart is just going to crush through here, Tasteless.
There is an Immortal in the back here, but I think you're right. Yeah, the medevac is sort of covering it up when you take a closer look. Yeah, there's just way too much Terran stuff, and that's going to be it. GG.
Wow,
really,
all right.
Really well done.
So, I mean, Heart actually just kind of outplayed Inori. Inori was a little bit underwhelming in this series, I do have to say. I mean, he's had a good run.
It was a little bit lackluster.
Yeah. Just his play was not where I wanted to see it. He wasn't really getting the intel. His Stalkers were kind of way out of position, you know. You don't have to have your Stalkers that far up in your base. They have blink. If you have like an observer patrolling out there, you're going to be able to see anything coming and get back into position. But instead, his Stalkers were way too far out. He couldn't save his Colossi. It was rough.
Well, I guess that does it for us for now. Thank you so much for joining us. Feel free to add us on Twitter and tweet us who you think is going to win this MLG. And if you want to see more of us, please check us out at goldentv.net. It's where you host the GSL, the most competitive esports show on the planet. So for Toast and myself, we'll see you again soon.